Can you think, eh?
Yep.
Welcome to Shifting from Grudge to Grit, Grace, and Gratitude. And I am so pleased that we are back this week with an amazing guest. And before we introduce him, I'm going to let him say hello, as well as Jamila to greet, and then we'll read his bio.
Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
Jamila. Welcome, Dwayne.
Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to the listeners. That's the first thing I always say is like, I think time is one of the most valuable commodities. So once people are able to give me that I just, with the utmost gratitude, I want to say thank you and allow me to share my story and allow me to just be able to have a conversation with you guys.
Love it.
Thank you. That's so special, Dwayne. And we have to extend a very heartfelt thank you to you for giving us your time, and at such short notice as well. So we're very grateful to have you on, and grateful to have our guests on as usual. So very warm welcome. It's afternoon here in South Africa in Johannesburg, but good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening to everyone who's joined.
And yes, as we always say, this show is about everyone because in Dwayne's story is part of your story. So please interact and engage as you always do. We normally have a few regulars here from the States or North America, Dwayne, so you'll get to meet them. And please, this is really a platform for everyone. We want you to be able to feel free, share openly. This is about your multiple heroes journey. And now I'm going to dive into Dwayne's bio, which will give you a little bit of insight until he starts to share. So, Dwayne Morton is a powerful, inspirational speaker whose life story is a testament to the indomitable human spirit. As a former international basketball player, and he just said he was supposed to come to South Africa to play, and this is a full circle moment. Dwayne understands the crucial role of mental performance in achieving greatness, both on and off the court. However, his true journey began when he faced unimaginable challenges. For 18 years, as old as my eldest son is, he battled a misdiagnosed rare blood cancer, showcasing his unwavering resilience in the face of adversity. As if that weren't enough, Dwayne also survived a police shooting, an experience that would have broken most people. Yet through it all, he held on to his faith, integrity, and authenticity, emerging stronger and more determined than ever. Today, he dedicates his life to inspiring athletes and high achievers to master their mindset, overcome adversity, and unlock their fullest potential. He firmly believes that obstacles don't define a person, it's their mindset that truly matters. Well, I'm going to love this conversation. Through his powerful speeches and workshops, Dwayne empowers his audiences to rise above their challenges and achieve the seemingly impossible. Wow. That's like goosebumps just reading that there. So, you can start wherever you need to start, in the middle, at the end, where you are now. Please just share with us where this all started for you.
Yeah, so I love to give like a timeline. And the reason I give a timeline so everyone can really understand the journey,
Sure.
because honestly, I believe the Robert Frost poem was really I really that poem. I took that for not for granted at all. I took the more difficult road. So for me, like you said, I'm a former international basketball player at 19, but I didn't go the traditional route. I actually did not play my last 2 years of high school basketball. My grandmother passed away, and for me, I ended up quitting basketball. And I don't know why, but I understand why now, because
Mm.
I had really never wanted to quit anything, but I just felt like I just didn't care about it anymore. And so through that, I found my spirituality, and I just kind of like started playing basketball with freedom, and I got better, and then I made a really good opportunity. A really good opportunity came up. I made the best out of it, and so I ended up going to play overseas. The thing about being overseas was my I learned my foundation of gratitude over there. I met a 5-year-old boy who had not eaten in 3 days. So for me, it was very heartbreaking, but it also allowed me to understand that our nightmares are other people's dreams. And so I'll say that again, our nightmares are other people's dreams. And so what you'll see is that foundation of gratitude pushes me through all the other challenges. So I got back, I signed with an agent, getting ready to, I felt like play pro basketball finally. Instead, I hurt my knee. I have the surgery. The doctor says, you can keep playing, but you're going to look at a knee replacement probably in your early 30s. I was like, hey, I think this is it. Like, there's my ceiling. So I move on. So at 29, I'm still trying to figure things out. I get diagnosed with a rare blood cancer. I was originally given 5 years to live. And when you're given 5 years to live, it's like, oh. So I decided, hey, I'm not going to have a wife. I'm not going to have kids. And I'm still not married and don't have kids either. I mean, so it was definitely something. It was a choice, but it was something I was like, hey, okay. Later on, the diagnosis got pushed to 15 years, and then that was in 2006. I bring that so because math is going to be really important right here. But in 2022, I was involved in a police shooting where an officer was tragically killed. A criminal took a hidden gun out of his waistband, shot the officer, and then there was a shootout. I just so happened to be driving by when a stray bullet hit the truck. So if it had been an eighth of an inch to the left, it kills me. An eighth of an inch to the right, it hits my little niece who's 3 years old at the time. So let's add PTSD and survivor's guilt on top of that, of what else I was already facing. But also, as I said, the timeline, 06, 15 years, I'm like, okay, I don't understand. Why would a miracle be spared on me? And so here's the beautiful part. On March 8th of 2024, I found out I was misdiagnosed. And I did not have the blood cancer. I had sleep apnea. I had severe sleep apnea. So just to put this journey in perspective, I've only been healthy a little bit over a year. And I'm talking about like a year and like 2 weeks. So all of these things that I'm talking about and how I built my Show Up to Win program is literally made in like less than a year, or like a year time.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Really unbelievable to have gone through this and to have lived through the misdiagnosis. And I'm sure that you're on lots of medication for it, which affects your life in a different way, totally different way. So, you know, well done. I guess for,
Can I add something? So I
sure,
was
yes.
extremely lucky. Extremely lucky. I didn't have the blood cancer. I did not have to do the traditional route of chemotherapy, those type of things. All it was bloodletting. So it was just phlebotomies. I was extremely lucky because guess what? If I'd done the pharmaceutical route, I wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. And I agree with you on that because I was misdiagnosed with having an underactive thyroid. And my journey, I went for a second opinion after 6 months. But in those 6 months of having taken the medications, that's why I say to you, well done for recovering like so quickly from it. It took me almost 2 years to be able to get back to who I was. And then I don't think you actually really truly get back to who, the state of your health that you were in initially after being put through all of those medications. So, but nevertheless, I mean, to come out of that 15 years later and to grab the bull by the horns and say that I'm living my life now to the best, that is for me unbelievable transformation. It's not about survival, it's transformation and having that mindset, to take on life's hardest challenges and still to stand tall and to show up in your true purpose, your power, and to live your life in peace going forward. So, incredible and so well done to you. Hats off to you on that. There's so much that we can still learn, and I'm so excited about having you on to hear more about your journey.
Thank you. And so it was 18 years of the misdiagnosis, but the whole thing was when after the 15 years that they gave me, I really thought I was dead. I just really did. I was a walking corpse is how I felt. And so that just tells you the power of people's words and the power of being diagnosed and how it was a prison sentence. I don't really know how else to explain it. What I will tell you is that I've done a lot of really hard work to get to where I am, but I've been very blessed with having the right type of people to help me make those steps in that year. Um, One of my friends, Chuck DeBroder, he helped me with hypnosis. So the traumas that I was dealing with that were on level 9, level 10, he brought those to where they're neutral. Later on, I've met some incredible people that were just able to give me a better mindset. And so another thing is like I felt like I had a pretty strong mindset internally, but externally I wasn't doing that. I was kind of in that victim mentality. And so it wasn't until a couple of people told me like how different ways to frame things. And so those are huge life lessons that I was extremely fortunate. But just to give you guys some perspective, my mentor was Melvin Turner Sr. out of Louisville, Kentucky. He was mentored by Jim Rohn, who is the greatest motivational speaker in my opinion. Jim was mentored by Melvin in public speaking. So that's my pedigree. And when I met Melvin, I was just a shell of myself. So that was the other aspect. And he would always say, young man, he goes, you can control your attitude. And he has like this beautiful attitude acronym, but he was like, attitude is your altitude. And he would call me once a week and he would just say, how's your attitude? He always say, young man. He's like, young man. He's like, how's your attitude? And he would so he would always constantly check in and just make sure that I was good. But, one of the things I'll tell you is I never was suicidal. I know a lot of other people, like they have a hard time understanding it. And so I believe when I got diagnosed, I felt, hey, I accomplished my dream and probably even more because all I really wanted to do was play past high school. I felt like I was able to accomplish my dream early. So if my life was shortened, then okay, like I got to do what a lot of people weren't on earth to do is to accomplish their dream. So I think that was another part of it. But I just live in a place of gratitude and it's been that way for a while. But what I would say, Jamil and Anissa, is I leveled up on the amount of gratitude because now I understand and I'm more aware of like the grass, the ants,
Yes.
the trees. And so that's the important thing. And I'll let you go ahead and ask some more questions. But I just wanted to kind of tell you like that's the level I'm playing at, but also that's the page I had to turn. And I'll be honest, there was times where I wasn't sure I was ready to turn the page. But for me, is once I turned the page, it was like, oh, that's kind of it's forgiven anyway. And I believe in grace. So, with the name of the title, like, so I'm not upset at the doctor. I'm not upset at the whole shooting incident. Like I feel that man was trying to defend himself. And so at this point, if I want grace, I have to give grace.
Oh, I knew I was going to love having you on, and we are so blessed always to have guests that are so in alignment with who we are and what we want to put out into this world. And like true Joseph Campbell fashion in the hero's journey, you were shoved into the abyss, not by choice, right? You had to step out of the known world of basketball where, yes, at the time, you may not have had the wisdom that you have now, where you were in acceptance of. At that time, the victim consciousness, why me? What have I done? Surely this wasn't how my life is supposed to go. And even more profound in the hero's journey fashion of the entire journey of how it works is that you were never alone. You always had these A game players by your side, to use gaming speak. And what better way to be divinely guided and know that you're not alone? And so it's no wonder that mindset was from an early stage there, but it had to be cultivated somewhere, somehow prior. I almost wanted to go a little bit back in your life and get to know Dwayne before all of this happened. Who was he? Was he a risk taker? Was he somebody that was like, no, 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 I'm going to stay in my lane? Who was there to cultivate part of your growth within the former part of your life?
So, incredible question. I have never been asked this, and I've been on 60 podcasts. So, my grandfather, my grandpa, was definitely one of the role models for me.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of this is resilience was taught to me at, I believe, 4 years old when I was shooting a basketball. Because back then we didn't change the height of the basketball goal. I shot at a 10-foot goal with a men's basketball. So my goal was to shoot and hit the bottom of the net, in which this net was different colored. So it's red, white, and blue. So I would shoot at different colors of the net. And then eventually it was the rim. And then it was like, oh, this is going in. So that part, right, taught me resilience. But Dwayne was not a risk taker. Dwayne was full of fear. Like, just to let you guys know, is like there is 2 instances in my life where I saw people fall off a roller coaster. Like I don't the one I know I saw it. I know my subconscious saw it for sure. The second one was around me, and I still think my subconscious saw it. So I was not someone who was like, hey. And as you know, from if you're an old soul, like you're supposed to struggle in your early life, and I did. I mean, I was a timid basketball player, was not aggressive. There's all kinds of things that, like, looking back, I was full of fear, and that's the one thing that I can tell you now is like, I'm not full of fear. Like, you know, if I would have been 5 years ago, if I would have been on this podcast and you told me like in 24 hours I was going to be talking to 2 wonderful women like you all, I would have been nervous. I would have worried. I would have been like, hey, I want to show up the right way, right? So I don't live that way anymore. I live in presence. Like everything is about the presence. I'm attempting not to look too much into the past, but like there's stories there I have to tell. I know where the destination is. Like I kind of know where my trajectory is, but I'm really not paying attention. I'm just in this season of allow and not worrying about how or the logistics. And so, as you know, with manifestation, that is the most beautiful place. And so I just was thinking, so yesterday I actually spoke to some high school students and I told them, I said, when I was there in your shoes, I was scared. And so I told them, I said, the best thing that you can do right now is to be as positive as possible, and you can live your life like it's the last day. And that's the one thing that I learned throughout this whole journey is like Dwayne back then did not do that. So I think that answers the question and gives a little bit more context. But yeah, no, I was very much into being safe and secure.
Yes, it does answer the question because I wanted more context in understanding who was that persona. And so the hero's journey thrusts us into this unknown and ask us to expand to a different level of consciousness, a different level of awareness, acceptance, no more projections. And then you get the elixir and you've got to take that back with that's the new insight and the wisdom, but then it starts all over again. So, it's never a linear journey, and the journey will continue, and that's why it's circular. So I wanted that context, and you gave us the timeline, but bring us back now to the present moment and the wisdom and the insight that you gained and how that has become the pursuit of your purpose.
Oh yeah. So very purpose driven. That's the other thing is the purpose is what wakes me up at 5 o'clock, keeps me up at till 2 o'clock sometimes. And it just pours into me like, hey, you want to do this. But when you're when you're so aligned with certain projects and you're certain alignment, then you feel like, what's next? But again, I'm staying in that presence part. I'm not trying to get myself anxious and worry so much more in the future. But what I will tell you is everything I do, and this wasn't how I lived my life. Probably for most of it was so my program's called Show Up to Win, and I believe in showing up in presence and not just showing up in attendance. It's two different things. I hear people all the time say just show up. Like, man, there was 1,000 things that I just showed up to, but I wasn't present. So I didn't get what I needed to get. And so that would be part of it. The other thing is like, Anissa, I watched your TED Talk, a little bit of it. And so you talk about the inner villain. I was such a good kid. I thought maybe I'm supposed to be the villain. Maybe I'm freaking Anakin, and maybe this is what I'm supposed to go this whole different path. But no, it wasn't that at all. It was Dwayne is the hero. Dwayne actually needs to step up and be that person. And so when I was a little boy, and I'm sure a lot of other little boys were like that at my age, but my mom and my aunt would always tell me that I was special. Like, it wasn't until I got into elementary school where that changed, where teachers and kids change your perspective, right? Because I thought I was special, and then you go and they're like, no, you're not special. You're just a regular kid. And so I had that part. And so there's a lot of times I'll make a Superman reference when I'm on a podcast because truly I feel like I'm Superman. Like right now, I've dodged bullets. I feel like I'm divinely protected. At a certain point, you just have to own your stage. And this is my stage. And I'm showing up in the most authentic and most integrity type way. And I'm just saying, hey, I'm willing to lead, but right now I don't know it all. Like I don't know it all, and I'm not supposed to know it all. So that's the other aspect is when you're doing things and people expect you to know everything and you're like, I don't know everything. That's usually when you start pulling back. But that's not how I'm doing it. It's like I'm going across the desert without water and I'm saying, God, like fulfill it. Like that's how I feel. Is like God will fulfill it. And I have that type of faith. So that's the other part of the hero's journey is having faith, not only in yourself, but in the intuition to know, hey, these things that cross your path, that's where the guidance is.
That's so beautiful. I mean, we always think that faith is something that's there to remove the struggles, but it doesn't always remove the struggles, but it gives you the strength to keep showing up anyway. And that's what it's about. It's about being present and showing up. And however it shows up for you, faith acts as a spiritual anchor, I think, in every of the storms that life throws us. And your strength wasn't that you avoided the suffering. I think it's that you never let it steal from your purpose. And that's so highly commendable, and I think that a huge part of that is surrendering and not trying to control, because that's also what faith is about, is just to surrender and to have that belief in that higher power, that this is what is meant for you. This is the path that is ordained for you. I just want to ask, what is it like, what practices, because this is also about mindset, right? And Dwayne, today, what practices do you use? What techniques do you use every day to help you get through and to help you keep on your path, to help you keep that faith strong?
Yeah. So what I prepare to give to the listeners is a PDF. It's called Dwayne's Daily Plan of Attack. They can get it on showuptowin.com, sign up for the wait list. So this is truly what got me through the whole being diagnosed. And so um, I believe in these four things. So the very first thing I do, and I did like the whole time, was just gratitude was my first step. So very first thing I did every day, same thing I did a couple hours ago, was I thank God for giving me this day, because guess what? There's a lot of other people that don't get that. So my very first step is gratitude. My second step is self care, which is different for me because I stretch in my bed. I don't just jump out because I play basketball and I've been injured and those type of things. So I just take some time for myself. So the number two thing is going to be self care. However, the way that you feel like applying it, self care. And so this is also not just something, this is my morning routine, but this is also just how I go throughout the day. So the number three thing is going to be movement. And so I get out of bed, I firmly put my left foot down and I put my right foot down. And I attack the day, the rest of the day, like a runner's mentality: left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. So when you're running, you're you're not looking backwards. So I can't pay attention to the past. The past makes me depressed also. Also, if you're looking backwards and you're trying to run, it's probably going to be pretty slow and you're probably going to get off direction. So I just take that runner's mentality approach. And so same thing with the future. I know I know an idea of where the destination is, trajectory at least. But if I'm sitting there and I'm following it while I'm running, I'm going to get off track. I'm going to get out of alignment and out of direction. But also, when you think about the future, you get anxious. So when I talk about presence, I mean, we've all heard the saying, the present is the gift. And that is the truth. And so I just focus on that like 15, 20 feet ahead. So that moves to the next step, number four. It's called adaptability. So when you're running or you're driving a car, you see potholes. So these obstacles that we run into that life have, whether it's an unexpected bill or you lose your job or a death in the family, I mean, just anything, right? Those are potholes. I mean, we all know that life happens at some point. And so my job is to just kind of swerve left or right, whichever direction, and not take a direct hit on those potholes. Because when you drive a car and you hit a pothole and center hit, it shakes your car, but also it gets you out of alignment. So if you swerve enough, you might just miss that whole entire pothole, though. That's the beautiful thing about it. And so it's just about being aware too. The other part is when you're adaptable, you're staying in alignment. So when you're out of alignment, you're off direction. So same thing is just be adaptable. And I feel like when I do those four things throughout the day, I have a really great day actually. The days that I don't practice this as well as I did the other days, my day's not as great. And so I feel like I could have a very good day, but I also could have even a better day. But also I can maybe not take those direct hits and change my perspective. And so it's just about perspective and just living in that frame of gratitude throughout the whole day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you constantly have to ask because you're going to go through challenges in your life. It's inevitable. You're going to experience pain, you're going to experience a whole host of negative experiences, but growth through it is optional and it's your choice to make. And you can either grow through it or you can wait to go through it. And I think that's an important choice to make. And normally when we choose to grow through it, we find those patterns not repeating themselves.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing is to grow through it rather than just go through it. Yes, I love that. I'm actually going. Can I borrow that, please, Jamila?
Yes, of course, absolutely. I mean, Anissa, I think we've been through this, and I'm just reflecting on what Dwayne said, about how we feel about ourselves as well. And years ago, if you had known that you were coming onto a podcast or had to show up in something, um, you would receive it with quite a bit of nervous anticipation, or you would
Mm.
doubt yourself. And I relate to that. But I think it's about just surrendering and getting back into that stillness and understanding who you are and the acceptance of who you are that changes that around. And it changes how you live your life and how you take on the challenges, how you take on what's positively affected your life, what's not so positively affected your life. So I do relate to that. Anissa, I mean, you must have gone through many
Many different heroes' journeys, and I
experiences.
think I want to come back to you, Dwayne, in terms of what you were saying earlier on, this resilience and the tenacity to be able to carry on. It's the grit within our title, um, but for the most part, the way our brains are naturally designed is we are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So we do tend to go for a defeatist attitude. And whilst your grandfather was instrumental in cultivating that resilience for you so that you don't go into this defeatist mentality, we are human and imperfectly perfect. So we will find triggers show up. So I'd love to figure out, with your natural disposition being in a space of gratitude, elevated gratitude, and giving yourself and others grace, it's the most beautiful, most expansive part of consciousness to be in. But when we are human beings, having, what's that saying? Having a human experience, right? There's something to that effect. Human beings
A
having a
spiritual being having a
spiritual,
human.
yes, having a human experience. So in the human experience aspect, our ego still plays a role and we still get triggered. And so I almost want to go to a more provocative side of Dwayne. And I hope that you're okay with us going there, so that when you are triggered, what does that show up as? And how do you remain resilient and practice this grace and gratitude even in those moments?
That's okay. It's a credible question. Um, yeah, so I'm very transparent. So when I was younger, I would just go outside and shoot basketball. I mean, it's very similar to how it is today, but I would I would get angry and I would just attack the rim. I would dunk. I would do different things and just take out anger, frustration. I'm not able to dunk anymore, so like I just kind of give myself 5 minutes when I get mad or angry, and just like So there was an experience I had sometime in November where I found all my old medical records, and the grief of time is so profound for me. 18 years. Like when I talked to high school kids yesterday about it, like that's their whole entire life. And so there's parts of me that is 48 and there's parts of me that's 29 because I stopped living. And so that's the other thing is like but I, like I told you, I can't worry about the past. So when I start feeling those type of feelings, I don't just push them away. I write about them. I journal about them to get them out, but I don't still in them. Where in the past, I would just go to my room and read a book and sulk or cry and just be upset, right? And so I think that there's just levels of when you, and also this is another thing is like my my level of self-care is different than it was in the past. And so there was periods of times where I drink, like I went out with my friends, I was a social drinker. There was times when I drink alone, but like I never was what I would say alcoholic, but there was times that I used it to cope. Um, there was times where I was depressed. I was on depression medication. Like I was, I was at that point where I was just trying to get the pain to move away. To and then what I found out was I was numb, and I was like, hold on, I don't feel this. Like I should be feeling this. The other thing is like I missed weddings, I missed funerals, I missed all these like life experiences and memories because I was unhealthy. And so there's so many levels of this. So I would say grief has been the number one thing that I've dealt with. It's still dealing with. I feel like it's a day-to-day thing for me at this point. I've only been a it's only been a year and like a couple of weeks since I've been completely healthy. So there's times where I get angry when certain things pop up, but for the most part, I'm so busy being grateful about things. I think that's another aspect of it is like I
Mhm.
just say I learned this lesson. It might have took me a different path, but could I have gotten here without going through those? No.
No.
The other aspect is a friend of mine. She told me she goes, Dwayne. She goes, these things didn't happen to you because that's the victim mentality. These things
Oh.
didn't even happen for you, which, I was looking at, hey, this gave me a platform. No,
Mm.
she's like, these things are actually happening through you because the
Yeah.
lessons are being learned to you and then you're facilitating them to other people so they can learn. And so
Mm.
that's the, when you, and that's the thing is like you said, I have these other people, these mentors that keep me aligned and keep me with my head straight because a lot of things have evolved very quickly, even over the last few months. And so I think that's the other thing. And so um, I hope I answered the question.
Beautiful.
It- it's
You
it's
have.
it's very. I want to be as transparent as possible, but I don't want people to think that like from my
Mm.
perspective, I've always had a strong mindset because I
Yeah.
was very self-disciplined. But sometimes self-discipline comes with feeling guilty. So there's another aspect of self-discipline, right? And so
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out where is my self-discipline at? Is it from guilt or is it from shame or is it just because I want to do this? I'm so determined. I'm so resilient and I'm also like I have that tenacity.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
This is it because you said something earlier on, that, and that's why I delved in that direction about Dwayne being the good guy. You had to be the nice one. And we are both light and dark. We have a shadow side to us as well. So it's not about shaming those parts of ourselves, but rather integrating it, right? So I wanted to gauge from you today, and having this transparent conversation with you is around for others to have an invitation to know that we are human. We're going to show up in both of them, but it's the awareness and the grace and the gratitude from the lessons and the triggers that become these gems for you to take forward in pursuit of your story not being your story anymore. So I'm not surprised that things are accelerating for you because you're meant to be sharing these lessons.
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
there's one more thing I want to share. Like I realize I deal with abandonment a lot. So like it's like grief, abandonment, like those are one too.
Yes.
There's just been times where it's like I would meet people, friends, and I would think we would be friends and stuff for a lifetime,
Mm,
and then
mm,
go away. And so one of the perspectives for me is like I realize that there's seasons. There's these different seasons, and then there's like this length there, more seasons part, and then there's like this lifetime. And when you there's not that many people that are there for your whole lifetime.
oh,
It's a very very small part. Also, the other word is I would say is I'm starting to differentiate between friends and acquaintances. Before, I would
mm,
just be like, "Yeah, I know this person. Though we're friends." Like, no, it's changed because it had to change. It
yes.
changed because I was getting dealt a different hand, but also how my perspective, if I know you, is different than how most other people's perspective. And so I just had to change. I realized, hey, like change is good. That's the other thing is that I've learned is
Mm.
change is really good.
Jamila was going to talk. We were, when you weren't going to join, we were going to talk about friendships today. So it's very apt that you're bringing friendships in, and I'm going to hand over to her because this was something that was important to her to discuss, and how this plays. Friendships play a role either in helping us evolve or wanting us to stay right where we are. And some of those friendships are meaningful, and there's no judgment, even if they in the label toxic for us. because they are supporting our evolution anyway. But Jamila, over to you in terms of responding to Dwayne on that friendship versus acquaintance.
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to open ourselves up to having those connections with people, because sometimes as we go through life and experiences in life where we have expectations and we have disappointments and all the rest of it, we tend to isolate ourselves, you know, to protect ourselves. And I found that's been the case for me for sure. And you know, it's been to my disadvantage because I haven't opened myself up to all of the positives that can come from a connection. But like you say, you have to be able to judge who are the acquaintances and who are the true, you know, ride or dies that are in your life. And it's okay if that is only just one person, because that's all you need is one genuine connection to have with you. And you know, for me, I hold that with such high gratitude, to actually have someone so close. But as we progress through life and life experiences become more complex, I find that it's so important to have those connections and to be open to having those connections. And like I said, you know, I'm at a point in my life now where I've been through that phase where I thought everybody was my best friend, and that was literally a reflection of who I was, because that's who I would show up as, irrespective of who I was showing up to. But it's not always the case that that's mirrored back towards you, and that's where the caution should come in as to who the genuine people are and the people who are just meant to be there for that season. um, but like Anissa said, it isn't one that's right or one that's wrong. It's one that we are meant to go through. And it's the same with relationships. I think when you get to a point in your life where you can realize that you shouldn't be saying that, wow, this person wasted 2 years of my life, or this person should never have come into my life, caused me such grief. Those were things that you were meant to go through, to reap the learnings from it if we are ready to at that particular point. So for me, I feel like nothing that we've gone through in our life is something that we weren't meant to be going through. It's always there to teach us to get to a point that's closer to our higher self. So for me, I think that's where I wanted friendships, or the discussion around friendships, to go to. And companionship and communication and connection is so important. It's something that actually prolongs our life, you know. And I've heard so many podcasts by Simon Sinek reflecting on this here. So it's really, really important. But it's important also to understand the toxic friendships that do come into our lives, which we also don't have any control over. But again, they're there to teach us something. But just on another note, Dwayne, you know, like this world is so obsessed with image, and, you know, I feel that authenticity is revolutionary at this point. You know, there's the image of showing up as a male, and an image of showing up as a female and being feminine and soft, and as a male as being that you know, caretaker and provider, and you tend to not show emotion. Through your journey, how have you dealt with this? And what is it that what message can you give to the men out there who are listening? Anissa and I both have sons, and we both single moms. So it's difficult to a certain extent to be able to communicate as effectively as I guess we would have been able to with a girl child. But especially when it comes to emotion and sharing and being brave enough to be authentic in that way, and to see it not as an act of weakness, but as an act of courage and bravery to show emotion. What is your message out there for the men that are listening?
Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, men's mental health, like it's not, it's frowned upon. Like people look at it as like a weakness. I mean, I had a few friends that reached out when I was going through the shooting, but most people were just like, he's alive, he's okay. I mean, so that's the other aspect of it. I was not okay, not through it at all. I went and saw a talk therapist like twice a week. It just didn't work for me. I mean, like it might work for a lot of people. The other times I did it worked great, but I just feel there's a stigma against it, and we need to change it. And that's one of the reasons why I've been so transparent and so sharing of it, being able to be as open, because eventually what it's going to do is it's going to help someone else. So there's that aspect. I have always been pretty open and authentic, but there was times that I held stuff to myself because I was like, they're not going to like this. Like, that you have that thought. I mean, so just to give you an idea, this is perspective. This is Dwayne. I'm very hip hop. I grew up listening to it since I was 5 years old. So I identify with hip hop. I deal with that type of culture. I deal with the basketball culture. I love to read. So I'm a nerd. I also love like sci-fi, not sci like Star Wars and like comic books, that type of stuff. So there's all these other aspects, right? But I'm also like, I grew up in a rural town in Benton, Kentucky. So there's another part of this Western Kentucky part that like I'm around people who are farmers. I'm around people who are hunters and fishermen. And so there's other aspects of me. And so I'm able to connect with them. But what I felt was I never had a true connection to anyone. Like no one really could relate to me. Like they could relate to parts, but there really wasn't anyone that could be like, everything I said was just like perfect. Then there you have the spiritual side, and then it just like it cut more people off, right? And so it wasn't until later on, and when I say later on, it's just a few months where I'm starting to find those type of people that are very relatable. So for your sons, I would say this: there's only one you, and when you realize that there's only one you, that's when you're truly powerful, because then you realize like, I'm extremely special. I'm extremely rare. But then when you're able to add that spirituality part, that you're a co-creator, you're with the Most High, that's where the magic truly happens. And so I would just say, learn about yourself, because that's really the only person that you can truly count on. And so I hope I answered the question as best as but I feel we have to start saying I feel, and it not be, and I'm taking it from a man's mental health thing. Like, it's like, I think, okay, no, I don't think, I believe. There's difference. I feel. So another thing is for us guys, we need to start worrying about our intuition. Our intuition is our guide, and not worry about what some other person says, because truly, like, they're either there to either guide us or misguide us, and we're supposed to figure out which one that is. But that's how we get to our purpose. And so, I mean, I've been misguided. I thought people had my back, and they didn't. And so that's the other thing. My intuition said, don't trust this person, but I wanted to be I wanted to be with the cool crowd. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like, but that's the thing, is like, we have to start trusting ourselves more and more and more. And as we progress through this journey, we start trusting ourselves more and more and more. And then we trust ourselves with our higher self, and with the Most High. And the reason why we do that with God is just the fact that our faith grows, our spirituality grows, in my opinion. When you get closer to death, you become more spiritual. That's just, I mean, that's been my experience. So
that's beautiful, Dwayne. When you speak, I hang on to every word you say, because I can feel your sincerity, your authenticity, your humility, your desire to just positively serve and impact this world. I feel all of what you're trying to convey today on this podcast so energetically, because it is very difficult in the societal constructs that we are living in, that men aren't allowed to feel. Men aren't allowed to be in touch with their divine feminine side and their divine masculine side. And women is also going in the opposite direction. Instead of being their nurturing divine and selves, they're going into this, what's it, they want to keep up with the men, and so it's the alpha female, that's what it's called. And it's so flawed right now. And I mean, yesterday I had a teaching moment with my 10-year-old. I actually wrote a post about it this morning. And I said to him, lashing out is not who you are, but it's because you are hurting and something underlying is happening. And until you say, here's the thing, but we have to give them the invitation. We have to give our kids or men the invitation to feel that it is safe to be able to speak the I feel language. Because within the societal norms and constructs, it's not. It's so egoic that you have to take the lead and be strong and lead all the time. No. And when I got to the root cause of why my son's behavioral issues were, it's because he was not feeling heard, or he was not feeling held or loved or taken care of, because I am in a single parent co-parenting thing, and the missing fatherly male figure that is in the divine masculine, that says, I am in touch with my emotions, it's okay to feel, is so vital to cultivate these new generation of kids that we're living in, because they're also living in a world of instant gratification. So much dopamine and serotonin. I mean, you love gaming and Star Wars and all of those things, and we know what that does for us. It fuels our spirit. And the same for the kids, but it's superficial feeling and almost a vice, so to speak. And I heard you speak about some vices earlier on, like alcohol could be a vice, or numbing through gaming, or whatever that needs to be. And I really applaud you for being willing to be vulnerable here today and say it is okay to say, I feel, because I think is ego. I feel is heart-centered. So I know we only have how many minutes left. So I really want to give you the next 7 minutes to share with us, where are you now in your journey? What is this passion, this hunger, this desire? What is this impact and legacy that you're cultivating? I know there's a book on the way. I don't know what you are allowed to share, not share. And also tell us where people can connect and get hold of you.
Yeah, so everything that you just said is so powerful, that just like it, with just being able to understand those triggers and do that. So here's the thing. No matter how great we are as parents, as guiders, every person is going to have to do shadow work at some point. Whether it's called shadow work, like, you can be the most kind, gentle person, and that's going to go off to another shadow for that kid. So there's these other aspects. So like, I feel like people just don't understand that, like, that's part of the journey. Like, for that person, is they take those experiences and those beliefs, whereas we know belief has that middle word lie in it, and allow them to change that perspective and that perception. And so we can be the best parent in the world, and there's going to be some ways we're going to not show up for that kid. And so us as parents, I'm not a parent, but I'm an uncle, so I'll take that. She looks up to me just like I am a dad, but we need to give each other grace on a lot of things, because guess what? It's not our decision. We don't make those choices. So where people can find me, I have a course that I'm getting ready to launch. It's going to be very community driven. I built it because when I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. It's on showuptowin.com. You can go ahead and go up there and join the wait list. As soon as I get everything prepared the way I want it, I believe in this. I'm building a community to keep me consistent. I'm building the community to keep the community consistent. But also, I wanted it to be community driven because there's a community to support each other. So the show up to win is actually with the number 2. Sorry, I should have probably said that because I saw the graphic. The other part is if you go to DwayneMorton.com, that's where you're going to hear me more about as a speaker and some of the podcast stuff. So I just launched a podcast Monday. I have my first 2 episodes up. I'm going to drop hopefully 3 today and then get on a regular schedule on Tuesday. Same thing, show up to win with the number 2. For me, it's my way of giving back and to show other people stories and spotlight other people with resilient stories. Eventually, it'll be resilient stories in general, resilient stories in business, resilient stories in sports. So I want to have 3 podcasts to kind of get that whole effect. So I have this book that I'm launching on May 16th. So May 16th is a very important day for me. This year will be the 3rd anniversary of the shooting. So I want to take my power back from it. So I've decided to do this book. It's called The Bounce Back Blueprint, Become Bulletproof. And the cover is an oxymoron. There's a basketball with my logo with a huge center hole shot out of it. And the reason I chose that was because, yes, the bullet missed me that day, but it took a huge part of my soul that day. But what it did was it gave me the setback to set up my comeback. But it was a soul journey. I was shook. I was sad. I was depressed. I was mad. I was angry. There's all kinds of different emotions that I was in that. But ultimately, the biggest thing for my soul I really struggled was I'm a protector. My niece is in the back seat. I put her in that situation. And so that was the other aspect of my soul. There's only 3 people that I feel like I've always been a protector of. That's my 2 nieces and my little brother. And so for that, there's that aspect. And so that book is going to be about the things and the modalities that I applied through the diagnosis, through the shooting, that got me through that part. And I didn't understand everything, the science behind it. And so I'm actually going to tell the things that I gave or the things that I did. And then I'm going to explain the reason why these things worked for me. The other thing is like I'm on TikTok, DW Morton 24, I believe. I just started doing that. So I've just really started kind of messing with my socials right now. Facebook is probably the best place that has everything, where you can actually see the path. You can actually see the social stuff. So Anissa, we talk about manifestation all the time. I actually manifested the shooting. And when I say that, like either that or my soul was giving me a glimpse, a visual. In 2010, I made a post. If I keep dodging bullets like this, they should just call me Neo. I had to go to the doctor. I actually went to the emergency room twice in like a 2-week period. And so I just made that post. Like I was lucky, grateful, happy, right? And then just so happened, 14 years later or 12 years later, I had this police shooting. So all this stuff, I have social proof. International basketball player, it's like on my Facebook cover. So there's all this type of stuff. So Facebook's a really great place to find me. But really, I'm just getting visible. I'm just starting to get okay with being visible. And so hopefully you guys, you girls, sorry, you women will have me back on, and I can share and say, hey, this is where I was. This is, I came on early on, and now look at this. And, you know,
Yes.
my, my,
Oh,
my, my journey is like, I hope, to be a New York Times bestseller and those type of things. But like, that's off. I feel like I'm on a marathon, and I'm like, I just started like mile 2. Maybe I'm on 2.1, but that's it. So anyway,
oh man. Jamila, closing remarks for Dwayne.
I think, Dwayne, your comeback is far greater than any setbacks, that
Mm,
you have been dealt. And thank you so much for showing up today, not just as our guest, but just as a living, breathing reminder of what it means to turn pain into power and
mm,
survival into purpose. I think you've really expressed that today for us. And you've gifted us with so much inspiration, more than inspiration today. You've gifted us with a perspective and a quiet call, I think, to live with intention, more heart, and more courage and bravery in what we go through. So thank you so much for walking in truth
mm,
and for leading with light and being such a wonderful presence out there. Definitely we're going to be following you, and most certainly we're going to be asking for you to come back and to
mm,
share more of your experiences going forward from here on.
mm.
um, and it's just been such a delight to have you. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Dwayne, so I am going to echo what Jamila has said and just say that I think you and your story is a catalyst for the awakening of many males out there, and knowing that they are not alone and that it is okay. It's okay to be real. It's okay to be human. It's okay to be feeling anxious or nervous or just putting yourself out there. And it's okay to not know where you're going either, and just embrace it all, and to trust and surrender and to live from that grace and gratitude position. I think that's the thing I got the most from you today is every single day give yourself grace, and every single day be something to be grateful for. So I want to thank you, and please do stay on with us before we end the live. We always have a short debrief with our guests.
Absolutely.
Any last comment or golden nugget you want to leave with the guests before we go off the line?
Yeah. So real quick, I have 2 things to say. There's 2 things you need to have whenever. So I always tell people, begin. Like whatever you're looking to do, like begin. Don't think about doing it tomorrow or next week. Just begin today. The other thing is plan or get a mentor. Preferably, the easier route is to get a mentor and then have them help you create a plan. But truly
Mm,
begin. Say, hey, I want better today. Um, I, I love the Jim Rohn speech where he talks about being so disgusted. Like that's what I want you to do is pick out something today that you're so disgusted about, and you say, "Hey, I want this change." But you begin that today, and then you either plan or you get a mentor. One of the two. Thank you.
that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm just typing it in here so that I hope I captured it correctly. Truly begin, plan, or get a mentor to help you plan. And that's, again, Dwayne. On that note, thank you for being here with us. If we have had a bit of quiet guests, I don't know if the comments are not filtering through, but please, even in the replay, do leave your comments. Get in touch with Dwayne. Embrace him. I think there's lots you're going to learn from him and lots to look forward to in the not so distant future. All the best with your upcoming book launch. I can't wait to see the movie that's going to come from that eventually as well. Just putting it out into the universe there. And yeah, looking forward to host you again, Dwayne. Thank you. I'm going to end the stream now. Bye for now. Until next week.
Bye, everyone.